And I got my dinners controller with some just basic index details, create, post, and all they do is return default views. But of course, I don't have any views yet. We can go over here to our views menu and say I haven't got any dinner views. So I'm thinking about the controller first. I'm thinking about the logic. I want to be able to list dinners. I want to be able to look at dinner details to start with, and then maybe I want to look for like dinners nearby or popular dinners like that. But I've got this DBML file, and I've got the associated generated code for it that lives in here. And that's given me my object, my dinner object, and things like that. If I open that up, we can see I've got RSVPs, I've got dinners, those two methods that we had before, nearest dinners and dinner distance between, those are in there. And this could be done in nhibernate, or this could be done in Entity Framework. The cool thing about MVC is that when you go File New and you look in the Models folder, the Models folder is empty because it doesn't make any dogmatic decisions about that kind of thing. And I'll just drag them in there so the Models folder doesn't feel too lonely. And I'll make a new class, because I want to make a wrapper around this. I want to make a Rob Connery-style dinner repository. And this is going to be the thing that I'm going to interact with. So instead of me talking directly to the link to SQL stuff, I'm going to talk to this dinner repository. And it'll just kind of sit there by default for now. And I'm not doing this quite test-driven development, but it's kind of like as I need stuff, I'll add it, as opposed to big design up front. I haven't decided anything other than there are some dinners, and there's a repository for them. I'll figure out how to talk to them later. And I know when I hit index, which might also be called list, this will be the place that I'm going to go and grab my dinners. Right now, if I build it and run it, I'm just going to get the Hello World standard ASP.NET site. So this is the nice blue ASP.NET site that we've seen before. And if I went and hit dinners/index, it's telling me that there's no view. If I hit dinners by itself, that's telling me that the index is the default. So I'm getting close here in the sense of, all right, well, site/dinners, that's going to take me to index. I have no view yet. I have no functionality. I haven't hooked anything up. But that's where I'm going to want to see my list of dinners. So inside of that, we're probably going to want to go and talk to the repository. And I know I'm going to get some dinners, so I'm going to say, probably going to need a repository, dinner, repository. And then this is cool. This is forgive me for being an ignorant idiot, but apparently I was the last one to get the memo on this. You know this little deal here? See how I'm like, hold me, crap. Okay, there you go. This always runs away from me. I feel, one time I actually saw it get up and run away. And I don't have the cognitive capacity to click this and effectively push it. But apparently Control period does that for you. Apparently I'm the only person in the entire room that didn't already know that. So that adds the using statement at the top there. So I'm like, okay, I can get a handle of this on this whole keyboard thing. Dinner repository repo equals new dinner repository. So now we've got a dinner repository, and I can pull out an interface a little bit later. Down here in dinners, we'll say repo dot, and I don't have anything yet, but I know I'm going to want to do something like find upcoming dinners, which doesn't exist. So I can hit control dot, and I'll generate a method stub. So I'm telling it that I'm going to come back later, but go ahead and make one of those over in the repository. And then whatever I get back, I'm probably going to want to make a list of those things. And then I'll probably return that into a view. And I guess I could leave it default, but I'll call it index, and I'll pass in dinners. So at this point, I don't have anything. We'll go over to here. And by hitting control dot, even though the method didn't exist, they gave me a free one. It doesn't have the signature that I wanted. I want it to be public. And I think I'm going to have it return. It was going to be a list of dinners, or maybe an iQueryable of dinners. And I'm probably going to need to get all dinners first, too. So I want to have that option. So iQueryable of dinner, find all dinners. And that's going to be easy in this case because I can just go and take my nerd dinner data context. That's the coming out of my link to SQL. And we'll make one of those. So now I can probably just go return db.dinners. So I've got find all dinners, so that's good. That'll give me a list of all of them. But I really want just the upcoming dinners, right? I want the ones that are before now. No, after now. Future, so that would be greater than, right? So return from dinner. Dinner in, find all dinners, where dinner.event date is greater than datetime.now. And let's order by dinner.event date, select dinner. Cool, so that's good. We'll look at a way I can do that with test-driven development a little later, but for now, that should do something. I could probably hit a breakpoint there, run this, and see if that actually worked. Keep in mind that we've made no view yet. We're just hooking up controllers to databases at this point. Oops. Let's go back here, and we'll hit dinners. Oops. Come on, there you go. Oh, let's use the Windows 7. Yay. Bam. So there's some dinners in there, so that's cool. Fine Washington wine. So here's a dinner hosted by Phil. How did you get my database? Where did it been hacked? And Phil hacked. And we'll hit whap whap. Thank you. And yeah, see, this is the thing, folks. When it doesn't work, what do? We go to sadtrombone.com. Turn my sound on, sound guy. Sound guy? I'm going to have to sad trombone the sound guy. All right, now we feel better about how that went. Sorry, I pulled a fast one. I told him to turn it off after Julia Childs, and he was very good about that, and I respect him for it. So now I'm going to go down here to views. So we've pulled some data out. We've seen that happen. I'm going to go and make a new folder down here, and we'll call it dinners. And here I've got more yummy tooling, add view. This is part of MVC. This is added to Visual Studio. So now I can go here, and I can say, let's make a view called index. But I want to actually use some pre-built generation stuff that's going on here for my CRUD, for my create, read, update, delete, right? So I'm going to pull out a list. And I'm going to say, I want to grab that and make that list of dinners. And I'll use the existing master page. So then I'll hit add. And then it made a bunch of tables. And then at this point, some designer in the audience is like, tables! No! To which I would probably say, dude, it's a table of stuff, so maybe that's okay? Is everything an unordered list? I don't know. Maybe we'll change that in a little bit, because maybe we are offended by these tables. Although, mad props for a TH there on the header, so we feel good about that. So let's run that and see if it worked. And then talk about what happened. We'll hit /dinners. It is, in fact, a table. Maybe that tag is useful for something. Always getting picked on by the UL mafia. So one of the things that's really interesting about this is that by hitting add view and pointing it to that dinner object and saying I want a list, they went and they wrote a bunch of this stuff for me. This is tedious, right? This is monkey code, right? If enough monkeys slap their hands on a keyboard, an infinite number of monkeys, an infinite number of keyboards, you'll get eventually an HTML table that looks a lot like this. And we've got all of the different things that our objects had. So it used some reflection and looked at that. So we did a code gen at this point. But, this might not be the way that you want things to look, so we might want to change that. Still, it worked. Now I can hit details, and I have no details view. Now, the app is still running, I think. So let's go and say add view details. Pick details. Hit add. I just want to point out where that showed up. This is an important point about MVC. We're in views/dinners, and then I've just added something called details. There's a lot of this stuff going on, and this is one of the first things that freaks new people out, is that there's a lot of conventions. They're easy to understand conventions, but they are still conventions. In the sense of, there's not a giant XML file that I'm about to bust out, like typical Microsoft conference, where it's like, and look at the super sitemap.xml, and it's like, 2 megabytes of angle brackets that hide that all of this stuff is in a certain place. There's nowhere in a file somewhere that says that's where things go. It's simply convention, which is actually expressed by this very useful yellow screen of death, which is nice. So the team has actually said, hey, I looked in all of these places in this order for that thing.